Today, we're going to break down a really important piece of legislation here in India, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act of 2005. This is a crucial law, one designed to protect women's rights in the one place they should feel the safest, their own homes. So let's dive in and see exactly what it is and, more importantly, how it works. We all think of home as our safe space, right? But what happens when it isn't? That is the exact reason this law exists. It's not just some dry legal document. You should think of it as a shield. And the very first step to being able to use that shield is simply knowing your rights. To really understand how this law offers protection, we first have to get a handle on what it's protecting against. And the Act's definition of domestic violence is incredibly broad. It actually covers a lot more ground than you might think. Okay, so the scope here is absolutely key. Section 3 of the Act makes it super clear that domestic violence isn't just about physical harm. It's any act that harms or puts someone's health, safety, or well-being at risk. And crucially, that includes their mental well-being. This is a huge distinction because it acknowledges the entire spectrum of abuse. The Act then gets even more specific, breaking abuse down into 4 clear categories. First, you have physical abuse. That's the one we most often think of. Then there's sexual abuse, which is any kind of sexual conduct that humiliates or violates a woman's dignity. But the law goes further, recognizing verbal and emotional abuse. We're talking constant insults, ridicule, and threats. And finally, there's economic abuse, things like controlling all the money or blocking someone from having any financial freedom. The big takeaway here, the law sees all 4 of these as equally serious forms of domestic violence. So if someone is experiencing any of these things, where can they even begin to look for help? Well, the Act doesn't just define the problem. It actually creates a dedicated support system, a clear network of people and organizations designed to help. The path to getting help is designed to be accessible. A person can reach out to a state-appointed protection officer who kind of acts as a bridge between the victim and the court. They can also contact a service provider, which is usually a registered NGO, or they can go straight to the police or a magistrate. The whole idea is to have multiple doors open for anyone who needs to seek help. All right, so a complaint has been filed. What can the court actually do? This is where the law really shows its teeth. The court has the power to issue several different types of legally binding orders that can provide immediate protection and also long-term relief. You can think of the court as having this powerful toolkit at its disposal. There are 5 main types of orders it can issue, and each one is designed to address a different aspect of the abuse. Let's break them down. First up is the protection order. Literally, think of this as a giant legal stop sign. It formally prohibits the abuser from committing any more acts of violence, from trying to communicate with the victim, and even from showing up at their job or their child's school. It creates a very clear, legally enforceable boundary. Next is the residence order, and this one is so important. The Act gives a woman the right to live in what's called the shared household, and it doesn't matter who legally owns it. This order enforces that right. It can stop the abuser from throwing her out, and in some situations, it can even require the abuser to be the one to leave the house. The law also understands the financial damage that abuse can cause. A court can order monetary relief to cover costs like medical bills, lost wages, and also to provide financial support or maintenance for the woman and her children. It's about creating stability and compensating for very real economic harm. Of course, the well-being of any children involved is a massive priority. Section 21 of the Act allows the court to grant temporary custody to the victim. The main goal here is always to ensure the child's safety, and the court can even restrict or deny the abuser's visitation rights if it's in the child's best interest. And finally, we have the compensation order. This one goes beyond just the financial losses. It directs the abuser to pay compensation for the injuries they've caused, and the law explicitly includes things like mental torture and emotional distress. It's a formal acknowledgement of the deep and often unseen harm that was caused. So, the court issues an order. But let's be realistic. What happens if the abuser just ignores it? It's a critical question, and the Act has a very clear answer. These orders are not just suggestions. They are backed by some very serious legal consequences. Yeah, breaching a protection order is not a minor thing. It is a criminal offense. Under Section 31 of the Act, it can lead to a prison sentence of up to 1 year and a fine of up to 20,000 rupees. The law uses both the threat of jail time and a financial hit to make sure these protective orders are taken seriously. But here's the part that gives the law its real bite: Violating a protection order is what's known as a cognizable and non-bailable offense. So, what does that mean in plain English? Cognizable means the police can arrest the person right away without needing a warrant. And non-bailable means getting bail isn't an automatic right. This just shows how seriously the system is designed to treat a violation of its orders. And that really brings us to the most important takeaway of all. A right is only as powerful as your knowledge of it. Understanding this act, what counts as abuse, who is there to help, and what protections are available, that is the first and most critical step towards safety and justice. Because ultimately, information isn't just knowledge, it's empowerment.